For our anniversary, I cooked dinner. My wife said, "Wow, you're trying too hard for someone who barely counts." That was 3 months ago. Today, she asked why I didn't come home last night. I'm 28M, and my wife, Abby, is 29. We've been married for about 5 years now, and for the most part, things have always been fine. That's honestly the best way I can describe it, just fine. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but when we first got married, I had this feeling that it was going to be smooth sailing. We were always so in sync, or at least, I thought we were. But then something started changing a few months ago. It wasn't obvious at first, but now that I look back, there were small cracks forming in everything. At first, I convinced myself I was overthinking things. Then came our anniversary. And I swear, I don't know if it was that day that broke something between us, or if it was just the tipping point. It started weeks before. I had been planning for our anniversary, trying to make it special. I know, it's cliche to try to go all out for an anniversary, but I honestly thought it would be a nice gesture. I took the day off from work, went to the grocery store, and picked up all the ingredients to cook a fancy dinner. Abby had always mentioned she loved the idea of a home-cooked meal, so I thought this was my chance to really show her that I appreciated her, that I still cared, even though life had gotten busy. The plan was simple. I was going to cook her favorite dishes, set up the dining room with candles and flowers, and just make it a night where she could relax and enjoy. I put so much effort into making everything perfect, even down to the playlist I created, soft background music that I thought would set the mood. It was supposed to be this special evening, just the two of us. The night finally came. I had everything ready, the table was set, and I was waiting by the door for her to come home. When she walked in, I was excited, but there was something in her expression that immediately threw me off. She didn't even smile. She glanced around the room, then looked at me. "Wow, you're trying too hard for someone who barely counts," she said, her voice flat, but with this underlying tone that I couldn't ignore. I stood there, frozen. I honestly didn't know how to respond. I wasn't sure if she was joking, but the way she said it felt so serious. It wasn't the lighthearted tease I was used to. This felt different. I tried to brush it off. "I just thought we could have a nice night. You know, for our anniversary." She shrugged and walked past me into the living room, dropping her bag on the couch without a word. My stomach sank. Was she mad? Was this some weird way of expressing disappointment? I followed her into the living room, trying to salvage the evening. "Hey, Abby, is everything okay?" "You don't seem." "I'm fine," she interrupted, her voice suddenly sharp. "Honestly, I don't know why you went all out for this. We're both adults, and this isn't some fairy tale. It's just dinner." That stung. I felt like I had been slapped, even though she hadn't raised her voice. I wasn't sure what had changed. Was it really that big of a deal to her? I spent all this time, all this energy, and it felt like it meant nothing to her. And it wasn't just the anniversary dinner. It was everything. Dinner was quiet. Too quiet. The candles flickered between us, but the warmth in the room was gone. Abby didn't touch the food right away. She pushed her plate around with her fork, and I could tell she wasn't even tasting it. It didn't matter what I had made. It didn't matter how much I tried. She wasn't interested. I tried to talk about something, anything, to change the mood. "Hey, I saw that movie you wanted to watch last weekend. We should make time to watch it together soon." She didn't even look up from her plate. "Yeah, sure." It felt like we were two strangers sharing a meal, and it was probably the most uncomfortable evening I had ever had with her. I couldn't tell if she was angry or just indifferent. When the night ended, there was no "thank you," no "I love you." She just went to bed, and I was left sitting there, wondering where things had gone wrong. The next few days didn't get any better. Abby was distant, and when we did talk, it was only about the most trivial things. I started to get frustrated. What had happened? Was I missing something? Did I do something wrong? I was confused, and I wanted to fix things. I had to fix things. I tried everything to get her to open up. I asked if she wanted to go out for coffee, or if she wanted to spend some time together, just the two of us. But she kept brushing me off. Every time I tried to talk, it felt like she was shutting me out. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was avoiding me. even though I hadn't done anything. It felt like I was invisible. A few weeks after the anniversary, things just kept getting colder. Abby and I barely spoke. It wasn't that we were fighting, exactly, but it was this unbearable silence that filled the house. I would come home, and she'd be on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She'd barely acknowledge me. I'd sit beside her, try to start a conversation, but it was like talking to a wall. Then one night, about 2 months ago, I came home later than usual. It was around 9:30 p.m. I'd stayed late at work, talking to a colleague about a project we were working on. I wasn't expecting anything from Abby, honestly. It had been a while since I felt like she wanted anything from me. But when I walked in, she was sitting in the living room, phone in hand, and she looked up as I walked in. Her face was blank, like she was waiting for something. "Where have you been?" she asked, her voice sharp. I froze for a moment. "I was at work. I told you I was staying late." She raised an eyebrow. "It's almost 10 p.m. I didn't get a text. You didn't even call." I started to explain, but she cut me off. "I don't want to hear it. You just don't care, do you?" It was like a switch flipped. My chest tightened, and the anger I'd been holding in for weeks started to bubble up. "I do care, Abby. But it feels like you're not even trying anymore. You don't talk to me, you don't look at me, and you're acting like I'm the problem. What's going on?" She scoffed and stood up, walking toward the bedroom. "Whatever. Just drop it. I'm tired." I stood there for a moment, watching her walk away, and I knew this wasn't just a phase. Something was seriously wrong. Then, 3 months after that night, I received a text from Abby around 2 a.m. "Why didn't you come home last night?" I was stunned. What did she mean? I hadn't even thought to check in with her. I was at a friend's house, staying over after a long conversation. But she knew that. So why was she asking? I stared at the message for a while, unsure how to respond. It felt like everything had turned into some kind of game, and I didn't know the rules anymore. What was I supposed to say? Was I supposed to be sorry? Was she even sorry? I didn't know how to feel. I stood there, phone in hand, feeling the weight of her text pressed down on me. "Why didn't you come home last night?" It felt like a trap. The kind of trap you don't see coming but are still somehow caught in once it snaps shut. I had already been at my breaking point, and this felt like the last straw. But instead of replying right away, I did what I always do. I overthought. I stared at the screen, rereading the message over and over, wondering what she meant by it. She knew where I was. I had told her days earlier that I was going to stay at Marcus' place after work to talk about a project we were finishing up. She was well aware. So why was she asking this now, 3 hours later, as if I was some irresponsible child who couldn't be trusted? Something was off. I put my phone down for a second, running my hand over my face, feeling a growing sense of disbelief. I had been patient with her for months. I had tried everything I could think of to fix whatever was broken between us. And here she was, flipping the script and making me out to be the one at fault. I knew she was capable of being manipulative, but it was like she had shifted into another gear entirely. She wasn't just indifferent anymore. She wasn't just distant. Now, she was actively twisting things around, trying to paint herself as the innocent party while I was left to pick up the pieces of a relationship that had been slowly crumbling for months. I didn't want to get sucked into her web of drama. I didn't want to keep playing the same game where I had to second-guess every word she said, every action she took. But deep down, I felt like I had no choice. I replied to her text, my fingers shaking slightly as I typed. "Abby, you knew where I was. We talked about this. I was at Marcus' place working. I'm not sure what this is about." A few moments passed. No response. I went to bed, but sleep didn't come easily. I kept staring at the ceiling, the silence in the room suffocating me. Was she really trying to push me away like this? Or was this some strange test to see how much I would fight for her, even when she'd been so cold and dismissive? Either way, I was done playing this game. I didn't text her again. I didn't chase her. I knew if I did, she'd just pull further away, playing that same tired card she always did. You don't understand me. You never have. The next morning, I was in the kitchen making breakfast when she walked in. I didn't say anything at first. I wasn't sure what to say anymore, and I didn't want to be the one to open that door if she wasn't ready to walk through it. She stood in the doorway for a moment, watching me like she was waiting for me to speak. When I didn't, she cleared her throat. "I didn't hear from you last night. What was that about?" I glanced at her briefly before returning my focus to the eggs I was scrambling. It was the kind of cold response I had gotten used to recently. I wasn't trying to make things worse, but I couldn't pretend everything was normal. "You know where I was, Abby. I told you. I don't understand why you're making a big deal about this." She scoffed, folding her arms. "It's just weird, okay? I don't like being kept in the dark, especially when you're gone all night. And it's not like you've been very present lately." That stung more than I was willing to admit. I put the spatula down, slowly turning to face her. "What's that supposed to mean?" She didn't flinch, didn't even seem to care that I was trying to hold my ground. "It means that we don't talk anymore, Tom. You come home, we sit in silence, and you don't even try to ask how I'm feeling. You've checked out of this relationship, and I'm the only one who's trying to keep things together." Her words hit me like a punch in the gut. My mind reeled for a moment, trying to process what she was saying. Was I really the one who had checked out? Was she that far gone that she couldn't see what was happening? All those months of being ignored, of being treated like I didn't exist, suddenly flooded my mind. I took a breath, trying to calm the rising anger inside me. "Abby, don't pretend like this is all my fault. You've barely said a word to me in weeks. You shut me out. You don't talk to me unless you're making some snide comment or criticizing something I've done." She narrowed her eyes, but there was no sign of guilt. No hint that she recognized her own role in all of this. "I'm not criticizing you. I'm telling you how it is. You don't care anymore." That was the moment I knew I was done. I couldn't keep fighting for something that wasn't even there anymore. But I couldn't just let it go either. No, I needed to make her see that the games she was playing weren't going to work this time. Over the next few days, things started to feel different. I didn't reach out to her, not because I was angry, but because I realized that every time I tried to fix things, I was the one left exhausted. Abby had always been the one pulling the strings, making it seem like I was the one who didn't try enough. I stopped replying to her text right away. I took longer to respond. I didn't offer small talk when I came home. If she wasn't going to acknowledge what was happening between us, then why should I keep pretending everything was fine? I started making plans without her. I spent more time at work, got drinks with Marcus and other friends. I wasn't exactly out there enjoying myself, but I was busy enough not to think about her constantly. It felt oddly freeing to not have to chase her attention anymore. To not be at the mercy of her unpredictable moods, the sudden coldness followed by a demand for attention like she was the only one who mattered. If she wasn't going to put any effort into this relationship, then I wasn't going to either. A few days passed like this. She barely spoke to me unless it was necessary. When she did talk, it was the same old routine, picking at little things, saying how tired she was, how hard things had been for her. She still expected me to be the one to make things better, like it was my responsibility to fix everything. I didn't give in. I was tired of carrying the weight of this relationship by myself. I could tell she was noticing the shift. The silence between us grew heavier. The house, once filled with her constant chatter, now felt empty. And I didn't mind it. If anything, it felt like a break, even if I wasn't sure what I was taking a break from. I started to wonder if this was it. If this was what we had come to. Maybe I had given her all I had, and now she was just waiting for me to make the first move, as usual. But I wasn't going to. I wasn't going to be the one who fixed it. Not this time. Then came the night everything seemed to escalate. It was late, and I was on my way back from Marcus' place, still feeling the weight of everything that had been happening. I wasn't expecting her to be awake, but when I opened the door, I saw her sitting in the living room, staring at the wall. She didn't even look at me when I came in. I stood there for a moment, not sure if I should say something or just go to bed. She had this look on her face that was so familiar, the one that told me she was waiting for me to approach her, to make things right. But I wasn't going to fall into that trap again. Instead, I tossed my jacket onto the chair, walked into the kitchen to grab a drink, and then just stood there, feeling the silence stretch out between us. After a few minutes, she finally spoke, her voice soft but with a certain bite to it. So, this is what it's come to? I didn't respond immediately. I didn't need to explain myself anymore. It wasn't worth the energy. She stood up, her eyes narrowing. I can't believe you're doing this, Tom. I thought you cared about me. But now, it's like I don't even exist to you. I didn't react. I didn't need to. Are you just going to keep pretending that nothing's wrong? She pushed, her tone rising. I turned around, finally meeting her gaze. No, Abby, I'm not pretending. I'm just done pretending it's only my fault that this isn't working. Her eyes flickered with something, but I couldn't place it. Was it guilt? Or was it just frustration that she couldn't control the situation anymore? This is ridiculous. You're just going to give up on us. I'm not giving up. I'm just tired of carrying everything on my own while you do nothing but complain. You don't want to fix things. You want to keep me in this constant state of confusion so you can have something to hold over me. She froze, a sharp intake of breath. You don't get it, do you? Her voice dropped, more venomous than before. I've been carrying this whole thing for months. You think I've been doing nothing? Maybe if you actually listened. I interrupted, now fully irritated. What do you mean? You've been shutting me out this whole time. You don't communicate. You just throw things at me when it suits you. I can't do this anymore. The room went silent, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. I could see the wheels turning in her head as she tried to process what I had just said. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was the one who was wrong, and I could see her realizing that. I didn't wait for her to say anything else. I grabbed my phone and keys and walked out the door. I didn't tell her where I was going. I didn't care. I just needed space. When I got home, I threw my bag on the couch and sat down, my mind racing. That was when I heard it. A soft knock on the door. It wasn't like her to come after me. Not in the past few weeks, anyway. But now, she was out there, trying to break down my walls. I knew what was happening now. This wasn't just about her feeling neglected. This wasn't about her being upset. This was about control. This was about me finally standing my ground and her realizing she didn't have the power anymore. And that, I think, scared her. I didn't answer. I just let the knock echo in the quiet of the night. Then, the phone buzzed. A text from Abby. Where are you? What's going on with us? I stared at the screen, unsure of what to do next. I was done being her backup plan. But would she see it that way, too? Was it too late for us? Or was this the start of something new? Something where I didn't have to fight for her anymore? Before I could reply, there was another knock. Louder this time. And I realized I had one more choice to make. Would I go back in there and fix things? Or would I keep walking away, letting this mess play out on its own? My phone buzzed again. It was her. I stood there, staring at the text on my phone, feeling a deep sense of exhaustion settle in. I didn't know what I was supposed to do anymore. Abby had made it clear over the past few months that she couldn't, or wouldn't, see how much damage she had done. She convinced herself that I was the problem, the one who had checked out, the one who hadn't been putting in the effort. But the truth was, I had been putting in all the effort for far too long, and it was wearing me down. The knocks on the door continued, louder now, almost frantic. I knew what she was trying to do. She was trying to guilt me into coming back, into folding under the pressure. She always did. But this time, something in me had shifted. I wasn't going to give in. I wasn't going to let her dictate the terms of this relationship any longer. I sat on the couch, staring at the door, hearing the faint sound of her voice calling through the walls. Tom, please, just talk to me. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean to push you away. We can fix this, please. I closed my eyes, taking a slow breath. Part of me wanted to rush out and make everything right, to tell her that I was still here, that I still cared. But another part of me, the part that had been pushed aside for too long, wanted to stay where I was and let her feel the weight of her own actions. After what felt like an eternity, the knocking stopped. The silence that followed was suffocating. I knew she hadn't left, though. She couldn't leave without getting the last word in, without knowing she had some control over the situation. And that was when I decided this was it. I stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. Abby was standing there, her eyes red from crying, her hands trembling slightly. She looked up at me, a mix of hope and desperation in her gaze. Tom, she whispered, I'm sorry. I've been terrible, I know. But please, I don't want to lose you. I took a deep breath, looking at her for a long moment. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was just done. Done with the games. Done with the manipulation. Done with being the only one who cared enough to make things work. Abby, I said quietly, I've been saying this for months now. We've been falling apart for a long time. And every time I tried to fix it, you pulled away. You made it all about you, and I can't keep doing this. I can't keep pretending like everything's fine when it's not. She opened her mouth to say something, but I held up a hand to stop her. No, Abby. I've heard all the excuses. The I'm sorries. The promises that things will change. But they never do. You always get your way. You always pull me back in when it suits you, and I'm tired. I'm done. Her face crumpled, the last vestiges of her control slipping away. Tom, please. I love you. I loved you too, I said, my voice steady but final. But love isn't enough when one person is doing all the work. I need someone who's going to meet me halfway, not someone who treats me like a backup plan. I'm not doing this anymore. I watched her for a moment, as if expecting her to argue, to beg, to convince me otherwise. But she didn't. Instead, she just stood there, tears streaming down her face, her shoulders shaking. I sighed, stepping back from the door. I think we're done here, Abby. You can stay, but I won't. I'm moving out. Her face twisted in shock. What? You're really going to leave? I've already left, I replied, my voice colder than I intended. This was over a long time ago. I'm just the last to realize it. I turned away, grabbed a bag I had already packed earlier, and walked out the door. I didn't look back. The next few weeks were a blur. I stayed with Marcus for a while, sorting out the mess in my head. I wasn't entirely sure what had kept me in that relationship for as long as I had. Maybe it was the hope that things would get better, that she would change. But I realized that I had been lying to myself all along. The love I had for her had faded a long time ago, buried under a mountain of resentment and unmet expectations. Abby tried to contact me a few times after I left. She sent texts, voicemails, even showed up at Marcus' place once, demanding to talk. But I didn't engage. I wasn't cruel, but I wasn't going to let her back into my life either. Finally, after a couple of weeks, I got a text from her that simply said, I'm sorry, Tom. I hope you find what you're looking for. I won't bother you again. And that was it. I never saw Abby again after that. A few months later, I found out she had moved on, found someone new. I didn't feel angry or relieved or anything really. I just felt free. It took me a while to process everything that had happened, but in the end, I knew it was the right choice. Walking away wasn't just about her. It was about me. It was about finding peace with myself and not settling for a relationship that was one-sided. I wasn't perfect. I'd made my mistakes, but I wasn't going to let anyone make me feel like I didn't matter. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe again.